Yes. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Shiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome back. So we had a very brief 15-minute class yesterday, the last week. I hope you caught up with the recording anyway. We just covered the law of karma, and before that we had covered Ishvara. So we were in the first verse now. Now that we talked about the law of karma, which is relevant to this verse, what are the implications of this law of karma? So we said that every action that we do has two components, a seen portion and an unseen portion, and results in two reactions, phalams. One is the seen, whatever happens, and one is the unseen portion, which is the punyam or papam, the merit or demerit that goes into your karma bank account. And this in this karma phalam, the fruit of your actions, is dependent on the intention. Right? So the same knife yielded in the hands of a surgeon has very different intention than a knife yielded in the hands of a robber. And while the cutting could be same, the punyam or papam which is accumulated will depend on the intention behind that action. Now that we know this, what can we determine? So we also said that out of this big basket of karma, one portion of this karma gets allocated to you for this lifetime. That's prarabdha karma. So this prarabdha karma will decide all the situations which will come to you in life. It is not fatalistic because it doesn't determine the result. Humans have this unique thing called free will, which allows us to decide how do we choose to act or react to the situations coming our way. And based on the effort we put in, we have a capacity to influence the outcome. In some cases, despite our best efforts, what current action we do might not be enough to overrule the prarabdha karma. The prarabdha karma of that situation could be really strong. And our current action, which is agami karma, might not be strong enough to overcome whatever is being brought by prarabdha. But yet we try our best because that's the thing in our control. And many of the times the effort could be well enough that the situation, despite of whatever prarabdha karma brought your way, could now be influenced by your current actions. We can take away two corollaries from this law of karma. One is, whatever situation is coming to me, it's coming because of my own past actions. So there is no use blaming someone else, blaming the world, blaming Ishvara, because this current situation is is due to my own past actions. Of course, we said Ishvara is the administrator of this law of karma. However, like a judge in a court, he simply gives the fruit as per the law. Right? So he's not some vengeful God who wants to punish us for some sins we have committed. Um, so it was because of our own past actions. So hearing this, how does it make you feel? Yes, Prabhat, you wanted to say something?
Uh, Hi, good morning. I just wanted to, this is new to me, so um, forgive me if am completely off the mark, but I just wanted to understand um, if I'm the Brahman or the universal consciousness, and the
Mhm.
idea that the body and the mind is just a wave on the ocean, doesn't have real value, so to speak, then I'm just the witnessing, and the universe is the happening, right? So it's whatever's
So
happening is happening. So there's
I
no
understand you didn't attend the previous classes.
correct. This is my
Okay,
first
so
time.
I'll give you a very brief answer, but you will find the detailed answer in our previous classes.
Hmm.
So we talked about different levels of reality, right? So we have to, I mean, that could take the whole class if I start talking about it, so I won't get into it, but it'll clarify when you go back to the previous recording. So ultimately, yes, we are talking about, there is only one reality, that is Brahman, that is consciousness, and consciousness is all that there is, and I am that consciousness. That is the ultimate reality that we are aspiring to realize. However, Vedanta doesn't deny that there is a perception of duality. In this current experience, I'm talking to you, Prabhat. You're seeing me, Spandana, on this screen. We're having a conversation. There are buildings and trees and other things in our background. So there is this perception of reality, and it is a shared perception. Both you and I can see the table behind and the murti on it, and all right. And so this reality is also acknowledged. We're simply saying that this is not the ultimate reality. It is something because of name and form, um, to help understand and transact in this world, we give them certain names and forms. So it is a willful superimposition to help us understand this reality around us, right? Because Vedanta says if consciousness is all there is, then what am I? I am that consciousness. What are you? You are that consciousness. What are these inert objects, these trees and buildings and everything you see? They're also made of that same consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And in that level of reality, we talk about Ishvara, a creator who created this manifested universe and who administers this manifested universe. So that's the level of reality we're talking about. Okay, so um, we can discuss more post this class. We have
Sure.
extra time for Q&A at that. Yeah,
Okay.
does that somewhat answer your question for now?
Yep. Sure.
Okay, all right. So coming back to the law of karma, so we're saying every situation which is coming to me is because of my own past actions, but there is no vengeful God in the picture. So we can take that every situation which comes my way, what is the use of it? If we believe what the Shastra says, that the main purpose of a human birth a human birth which is so precious, which took an immense amount of punyam from your karma bank account to get this birth. The only purpose is to realize yourself. Then what would you do with every situation which comes your way, but to use it towards that goal? So instead of, we can't change the past. So we can only look at what is this lesson to be learned from the current situation which is coming my way. Right? One of my very early lessons from Ravi ji, which I really took to heart and has gone a long way for me, I posted about it recently, is you might see this pattern yourself. Whenever you don't learn the lesson which is to be learned from a particularly difficult situation which has come your way, we will oftentimes find that the same kind of situation will come in different ways. It will come through different people, different kinds of situation. But what we have to learn from that is the same. And so we can use any situation coming our way to move ahead in spiritual uh, life and spiritual progress. And Ramana Maharishi will give us various ways we can do that. Now, the second quality you can take away from this law of karma is whatever actions I do today will be what will impact the future me. So you thus can act accordingly. Of course, we have to remember that this law of karma stretches, it operates in a time frame, and the time frame is not limited to this human birth. Which is why you can also, if you understand it correctly, you can also feel satisfied in the justness of the world again. Oftentimes we wonder why are bad things happening to good people, or why do some bad people, bad people seem to get away with certain things and not face any consequences. This confusion only arises if because we don't see that remote karta. The karta is always the bhokta. The doer is always the receiver. But sometimes the doer was remote from a past life, and the bhokta is today in this current life. And so it will be. So any actions you do today, the agami karma which you accumulate today, it can fructify some of it in this lifetime, or it could fructify in a future lifetimes. Hopefully for all of us, those who have come to Vedanta, there are no future lifetimes to talk about. So put all the efforts you can to make the most of this human birth. Now, let's go back to the verse. Those of you who are new, we had shared this in the group. We can share it again. Right? So the first one says, Karturagneya prapyate phalam, karma kim param, karma tajadam. If karma is insentient, has no consciousness, how can it give any result? So by the will of God or creator, the fruits of karma are received. This is what the first verse was telling us. Now, what's the advantages of this karma? So karma itself can, as the Purva Mimamsa said, who Lord Shiva is giving this teaching to, cannot give moksha, cannot give you a infinite result, which makes sense, right? In our experience and intelligence dictates that finite actions can only give finite results. So how can any finite action, finite karma, give you an infinite result, make you this infinite, eternal Brahman? Karma is both limited in time and space. So I could only be eternal if I was already that. I can only be infinite if I already was that. So, what's the point of doing all these actions? What's the point of doing karma? So, one thing, it is not possible to be without action. So, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that it is impossible for any human to not act. And even if you are seemingly not acting, you're just sitting there in, say, meditation, there is still action happening. Your body is inhaling and exhaling, the heart is beating, there are thoughts coming up which you might push aside, but there is still action happening, irrespective of how much I try not to do action. And there will be an attachment to all those actions if we are operating from the sense of ego, the sense of I-ness, right? So that we will come to. Um, what is so how so the point of action is, first of all, you cannot be without action. Then whatever we're saying, the whole purpose of this human birth is to get moksha, and karma action cannot give you moksha. And what's the point of it? Now, as a human, you have various goals in life, various pursuits in life. You have pursuits of wealth, security, pleasure, doing your duty, artha, kama, dharma, and then there is moksha. So, Shastra doesn't tell you that you need to have moksha as a pursuit in life. You will arrive at that in your own time. So, in the meantime, you have whatever pursuits that you have. So the whole part of the first part of the Vedas, the Karma Kandas, have given us various rituals and various practices we can do to achieve whatever pursuits we might have in a dharmic way. So that while we are pursuing it, we're also purifying ourselves. Initially, for many people, the pursuits of these goals is the primary goal, and purification is just a secondary goal. Purification or spiritual progress is just a secondary goal. But as a person matures, this reverses. Spiritual progress becomes the primary goal, and all the other results become very secondary. And karma yoga is the way we convert any actions that we do into a purification exercise. And I will talk about what is karma yoga exactly. But because we cannot not act, so it's better we use any actions we do for this purification. So, like this karma, any actions you do, if you want to ask what is the advantages, it can help you achieve all these different pursuits. It can help other people, and it can also generate more punyam, right? But the more you convert this karma to karma yoga, it will give you more and more chitta shuddhi, more and more purity of the mind. And what exactly that will what exactly is karma yoga? That's talked about in verse 2. Let's chant.
Are we trying to say that we have karma yoga, so let your actions be just an extension of pursuit towards purification, act of purification?
Yes, exactly. I was going to cover it, but I can give it as an answer to this question. Because action itself is limited, right? That's what we were saying. And as the Purva Mimamsa believed, it cannot give you the infinite result. what is the limitations of karma itself? Shastra talks about a few. One is dukkha mishritatvam, which is any pain mixed with pleasure. So any all these actions, all karmas, have a pain mixed with pleasure. So say you're going to buy a house. You're doing the action of buying a house. So there is first the pain of acquiring the house. You would have had to work and accumulate money to get enough to build this house. Then you would have had to find a contractor, look at the designs. So there is a pain in acquiring the house. And then once you have the house, there is pain in maintaining the house. It'll keep getting worn out. Things will break here and there. So you have to keep up the upkeep. You'll have to put more time, energy, and money into that. And at some point, this house might start falling apart. And then there is pain in losing the house. So this is the first limitation of karma, that any pleasure that you get from it will always be mixed with pain. The second limitation is atripti karatva, means atripti is a dissatisfaction. It cannot completely satisfy you. Say you really get a lot of pleasure from eating chocolate cake. And the first piece of chocolate cake you've been thinking about it all day and will give you a lot of pleasure. And as you eat through the cake, the pleasure you get from it will lessen over time. And if I give you a second cake or a third cake, you'll be sick of it. There is no longer any way to derive any pleasure from this chocolate cake because the object itself is jada, it's inert. It's empty of any inherent happiness in itself. So it's not possible to achieve lasting happiness, which is what we said in the first class that we're all looking for, right? We're not looking for happiness today or tomorrow. We're not looking to be happy in this room or outside this room. What we want is permanent, lasting happiness. And none of these other pursuits can fulfill that. So it can never completely satisfy you. And finite actions can only give finite results. It cannot give you moksha. Your problem right now is you think I am this person, I am a jiva, and I'm limited in some way. Let's look at how desires come at all. Whenever we want something, whether we pursue things or relationships or careers, why do we do it? You can give reasons, but if you keep digging into the reason, ultimately it'll come down to some feeling of thinking this will make me happy, some feeling of lack. So this feeling of lack makes you go pursue things in the outside world. And so there is a desire which comes up. The desire makes you act. So you do actions, and then the actions will give you punyam and papam. So this will make new situations come your way, and you'll get caught in this whole cycle of actions. Right? So this is the second limitation of karma, that it can never completely satisfy you. It cannot give you infinite results. And the last limitation is bandhakatvam. Karma will bind you. No freedom. There is never any freedom because you're always bound by your likes and dislikes. When you do actions and you get a favorable outcome, which is in line with your likes, you will be happy. If it's not in line with your likes, you'll be unhappy. And even when you achieve this thing, you will want more of it. There is more greed. And if you don't get this thing you want, there will be sadness or anger. Right? So whatever actions you do have the capacity to bind you. So again, karma yoga is given as the solution for how can you get out of this bondage. And let's come to the second verse. You can unmute yourself and chant, repeat after me. Kriti mahodadau patana karanam
इति मदधौ पतनकारणं
palamashashvatam gati nirodhakam.
फलमनाशाश्वतं गतितिरोधम्.
Thank you. So it says, we spoke of some of it already. So, Kriti Mahodadau, the vast ocean of karma, Patana Karanam, is the cause of fall. Phalam, the fruits are Shashvatam, are not eternal, not perishable. Gati Nirodhakam, an obstruction to liberation. So, simply put, action is the cause for one to fall in the vast ocean of further action, what I was just saying. The result of an action is limited and hence is an obstruction to liberation. Because what is the only way to get liberation? It is knowledge, right? It is recognizing that I am already this infinite, eternal consciousness. So it's a problem of ignorance. And action cannot remove ignorance. Action can only lead you into further action. Verse is giving us the analogy of a vast ocean. So imagine you're in an ocean and you're trying to swim against all the waves, and you can get over one after the other, but eventually, if you're in the middle of the ocean, you will tire and you will drown. So this ocean is being compared to samsara, this repeated cycle of birth and death. And the verse is telling you that the only thing which can liberate you is knowledge. So this verse also removes the Purva Mimamsa's other misconception that karma can produce eternal results. So Ramana Maharishi is negating that. Karma itself is not opposed to ignorance, which is the real problem. The real problem is being this sense of apurvartam, the sense of incompleteness, which makes you think I need to acquire something to be complete, or I need to get rid of something to feel this happiness. And what is it that continuously feeds this delusion? It is being caught up in what we call Maya, which is the visible portion and easier to focus on. So right now, look at this hand. You can all see this hand. It's easy to get caught up with this, but what is it? The reason I can see this hand? There's a light falling on this hand, which allows you to see it. If I was in darkness right now, you'd not be able to see it, right? But the light itself, it's right there, but we are not aware of it. Because we don't think of it, because what is easily seen is much easier to focus on, get absorbed on. It's much easier to focus on the object and forget the subject, myself. What is this whole inquiry about? The whole inquiry is about me, the subject. But any other pursuits in this world can only focus on the object. That's why science will never be able to give you an answer to what is this question of who am I? Because science is about only the observable. Who's the observer? Where can you find that answer? So if you believe in Shastra as a pramanam, as a source of knowledge, that's where this answer can be found. And we say that's the only valid source of knowledge where this answer can be found. It cannot be found in the deepest states of meditation, even. There is a point, there is definitely a very valuable requirement for why we meditate, and we will talk about that in coming verses. Right? But no action itself can do that. That brings us to an interesting question. Is you coming to this class, sitting here, are you doing action?
I mean, the way I see it is action is happening.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. So your decision to come to the class, turn on, put your time aside, come here, and sit. Till there was some free will involved, right? So till then you were acting. However, now if you're just sitting here and your organs, thanks to Ishvara, are functioning well, my words, and you have a mind which is somewhat under your control, my words are now simply falling on your ears, and you have no choice but to hear those words. So, from that point of view, there is no action happening anymore. That's why we call it exposing yourself to the teaching. And that is why this teaching is traditionally always given in this form of a dialogue, of shravanam, of listening. Because when you're reading a book, you still have to, after every page, you have to make the decision to turn the page, and you have to make the decision to read the next word. So there is more action involved. That is why in this traditional form of how this knowledge is given, this is not really action per se. With a caveat though, because most of us don't have that complete purity of mind yet. So you will probably find that your mind is not completely under your control. So you will find your mind drifting from time to time, and you will have to exercise that will to bring the mind back into this room and back to listening to the words. So you're doing more action. So we say till the such time there is complete purity of mind, even this, what we're doing right now, listening to the Shravanam, is karma yoga for you. But once the purity of mind is there, then only it becomes jnana yoga. Now, what exactly is karma yoga? Second.
Any
That is,
action,
yeah,
Karma Yoga is any action which we do without the intention of getting, without thinking of the fruits it might yield to us, with complete devotion.
that's close. So the next verse tells us like what exactly is karma yoga. So we'll read that and repeat after me.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought karma yoga would be engaging yourself in any kind of action which ultimately leads to purification, and that, I mean, that would be the last goal of each karma.
That's also a good guess. We will get into it right now. So you can repeat after me. Ishwararpitam nischaya kritam
ईश्वरार्पितं निश्चयाकृतं
चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकं
चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकम्.
Thank you. So Ishwararpitam, dedicated to the Lord, nischaya kritam, action without ichcha, without desire, chitta shodakam, purity of mind, mukti sadakam, means for liberation. So action done not out of desire and dedicate it to the Lord purifies the mind and becomes a mean for liberation. So this verse is giving us the definition of Karma Yoga. Let's break it down, what exactly that means. Karma Yoga is basically a way to convert all your actions into a way for spiritual growth, a way for getting this purity of the mind. So knowledge is the only thing which liberates you, as I keep saying, as Shastra keeps saying. And everything else that we do, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, this Raja Yoga, which includes meditation and asanas and all these things, all these are preparatory practices. In a way, they're not really separate. It's just different practices come under different things, but they're all for just the preparation of the mind. Because the knowledge of who am I is very simple. I am that eternal, unchanging consciousness. But just hearing those words did not enlighten you in any way, did not liberate you from the cycle of samsara in any way, because the mind is not yet fully ready to absorb this knowledge. Hence, we must purify the mind. And how do you purify the mind with Karma Yoga? Is dedicate all your actions to the Lord. And then when you dedicate all actions to the Lord, whatever results come, you then accept it as Ishwar Prasada. So those born in this culture know that when you go to a temple and receive prasadam, you don't question the quantity which is given. You don't question what is given as prasadam. Whatever is given, be it water, ash, or sweet, you will take it. Right? You will accept it because it's prasadam. So that's what this means. But what does it mean, dedicate action done without desire? Does it mean you don't have a goal? Right? It doesn't mean, pardon, yeah.
What is the influence of the three gunas in this case?
So let me, that will deviate us a little bit. So let me finish and I'll come to that. Yes. So what is dedicating the action to the Lord mean? Karma Yoga is also a way for you to continue pursuing your worldly goals if you still have mainly other worldly goals, but to purify yourself at the same time. So, which means you will have a goal and you will have to design your action for that goal, right? So if I want a clean floor, it's I will need a broom, a mop, a bucket of water, and there is a order in which I will do it. I'll sweep the room first, and then I will use the bucket of water to mop the floor so that I have a clean floor. So the goal is very necessary for you to be able to design your action. But say right after I clean the floor, there is a big storm and there is lots of wind and all this dust comes flying in and leaves and everything else, and the floor is dirty again. Then you accept whatever happened as Ishwar Prasada. If you wanted a clean floor, you got a clean floor, great, you accept that as Ishwar Prasada. But you did not get clean floor, you accept that also as Ishwar Prasada. That's what this means. So this attitude of Ishwar Arpitam, dedicating all your actions to the Lord. When you're dedicating some action to the Lord, then you will do your very best, right? You will put in your best efforts because this is an offering to the Lord. You won't give a shriveled up old fruit to the Lord. You will give freshly brought the best picking for the Lord. And then you take it back as prasadam. And that's the concept. So this attitude of Ishwar Arpitam and Ishwar Prasada Buddhi. That's the attitude you do karma yoga with. And this right attitude also has to be accompanied by right action. So you cannot, say, give some alcohol or tobacco to the Lord, though in some cultures they do, but normally that's not something, or you wouldn't give old food, like 2 days old food, to the Lord. You would give the very best. So similarly, with your efforts which you're dedicating, you will put in your very best efforts. And then whatever happens, you accept. That's the attitude. And the action has to be the right action. So the first part of the Vedas also give us in elaborate detail what is right actions. As most of us will not have probably the time to study the whole of Karma Kandas, right? So very simply put, you can focus on these different kinds of action. One is Nitya Karma. These are actions which are to be done daily. And you can think of them as the Pancha Mahayagnyas, the 5 great yajnas or actions you can do. It's Pitra Yajna, worship of your forefathers; Deva Yajna, worship of Ishvara, the creator. And so that could be with puja or whatever. For Pitra Yajna, it could be that yearly ritual that you do for the ancestors. Manushya Yajna, service of fellow men. Brahma Yajna, which is this reverence to the knowledge, study of the scriptures. And Bhuta Yajna, worship of other living beings or non-living also, apart from Manusha, everything else around. So these 5 yajnas are meant to build this attitude of worship towards everything. So what are we trying to realize? That everything is the Lord. Till such time I can see myself as the Lord, we work towards seeing everything in creation as a manifestation of the Lord. So you slowly start building more and more of this devotional attitude. That's the Nitya Karma. And then there are some Naimitya karmas, occasional duties that you do, say at the time of birth of a child, or at the time of marriage, or at the time of death. Then there are Kamya karmas, the karmas that you do for gaining material benefits. And there are then Nishiddha karmas, which are forbidden actions like killing, stealing, anything. Most of us know what is forbidden. Even a thief knows he shouldn't steal. That's why he does it in hiding. Right? And Praishchita karma, which is action which are taken to neutralize any wrong action done. So, of course, you don't know what wrong actions you might have done in past lives, but recently, say you cheated someone, either intentionally or intentionally, out of some money. Someone had some financial loss because of you, you might compensate them for that. You accidentally hit someone on the road, you will make sure they will get all the medical care required and whatever. So anything you can do to correct these actions. So those who are interested in growing in the spiritual path, they will focus more and more on doing only Nitya Karma and Naimitya Karmas, those actions prescribed by the scriptures. You will slowly try to reduce your Kamya Karma, the karmas that you're doing purely for worldly pursuits, and of course avoid Nishiddha Karma, and hence also avoid any need for Praishchitta Karma. So simply we just summarize the whole of Karma Kanda teachings of what is right action in this brief. Any questions?
Does that mean, ma'am, that when we are in this journey, and we're trying to keep the right attitude, I mean, in this sansar, to keep the right attitude, because there's going to be a lot of, punching from here and there. Would that mean also dissolving your ego in a way?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely. So, which is why that is another main reason for karma yoga. So, basically, what is it which is creating this karma phalam for you, right? So, the verse is telling us that you can get trapped in this ocean of samsara because of actions. But how will you get trapped? When you do actions with ego, with an ahamkara. And what is ahamkara? Ahamkara is the wrong notion of I. It's thinking I am Spandana, this name, I have black hair with some grace coming, or, I'm a certain height, I'm a wife to so and so, I'm a daughter to so and so, I'm a teacher of this. I have a particular level of intelligence or skills. This is all ahamkara, the ego. So that's the right sense of what ego means in this in Shastra. You're trying to get rid of that ego. But the thing is, this ego is really tricky, right? You cannot really get rid of it till you are really rid of it. So even as you go on this spiritual path and you refine yourself more and more, what will happen is this ego will just get more and more refined. It will have even finer likes and dislikes. So even speaking briefly to the question of gunas that that the other gentleman was asking me, as tattva is very useful for spiritual growth, right? So the more sattvic activities you do, it's better for your purification. But even that will bind you. So even sattva will bind you because you will get used to more peaceful environment. You will get used to more sattvic, refined, freshly cooked food, or softer sounds, or people who are always speaking in a soft tone, who are also on the spiritual path, who are intellectual, you can discuss Shastra with. And as you like these things more and more, and it's very useful, right? It's very useful on this journey, but it will also start binding you. Then if you start, then someone's sitting next to you and smoking on your face, you might get irritated. Or there is suddenly too much pollution and noise, you might feel disturbed. So even that is a binding we need to come out of. Yeah. So karma yoga is meant to also help you perform without this ego or sense of doership that I am doing this. Because even a liberated person cannot escape action. Even they have to act, right? But there is a difference. For a liberated person, there is no sense of ego at all. They are identified with Brahman. They know themselves not to be different from Brahman. So they know this body is simply an instrument acting as per dharma. Just like it's dharma of fire to be hot, or dharma of the tree to provide shade, a liberated person will simply act as per dharma. If they find themselves in this birth in the role of a householder, even after liberation, they will perform all the duties of a householder. They will provide for their family. They will perform whatever job is required as per their designation. They will do all that. But there is no longer a sense of doership. But till such time that happens, there is doership. The way to keep ourselves from the trap of this doership, this bondage of what action with ego can do, the solution to that is karma yoga. Yeah. And so karma yoga also increases your vairagyam, your detachment. So it slowly loosens your likes and the binding likes and dislikes. So we call them our raga dvesha, our likes and dislikes. So thing is, you cannot. It's impossible to be without likes and dislikes. Even a liberated person will have likes and dislikes. You put a chocolate ice cream or a strawberry ice cream in front of them, they will have a preference for one. Right? And so likes and dislikes in itself are not damaging. The problem is when they become binding, when it becomes a source of disturbance, when if you cannot have the thing you like, it causes disturbance, or if you cannot get rid of the thing you dislike, it causes disturbance. So vairagyam, detachment, means you slowly unravel the binding nature of these likes and dislikes. And you slowly make all these instinctual actions, subconscious actions, into deliberate actions. You bring in this attitude of devotion and you bring in a deliberation with which you perform all actions. Even psychology says that 95% of the things we do are completely based on our subconscious. Most of the time, we don't even realize why we're doing the things we're doing. Even Bhagavad Gita says, Prakritim yanti bhutani nigraham kim karishyati. Humans are slaves to their tendencies. What's the point of restraint? Now, of course, it goes on to then talk about how do you actually exercise restraint. So this prarabdha karma, which we were given, which determines all these situations coming to you, it also brought to you, so it's also affecting you as the doer. So these situations are affecting you as a receiver, but you were also born with this set of personality traits, right? Which will result in these instantaneous reaction in the mind when something happens. But then that gap, where then there is time for free will to kick in, and instead of reacting, you can take a decision to act deliberately. So that's part of what karma yoga can help you with.
I wanted a clarification here, ma'am. You said we are born with certain traits. Are we born
Yes.
with traits, or are we conditioned into certain traits because of the environment that we grew up in?
Don't you see two siblings born in the same family, very close to age, maybe even twins, might have very different personalities?
Yes.
One might be
I have
very
twins myself.
shy. Yeah. So one might be very shy, other might be very outgoing.
Yes.
Right? They're born with a different set of talents and skills that they're good at, different features and attractiveness or anything else. So there are definitely traits we are born with, which is a result of your past karma, which not only determines the situation of your birth, but all the personality traits you're born with, which is how Vedic astrology works also. And if anyone is into Vedic astrology, I mean, it's I don't really admire most of the astrologists who work in this area because it becomes very deterministic, asking you to do this rituals or that rituals to achieve something. If anyone is interested in looking at astrology, the only useful way, as my personal opinion, is to help it to understand yourself, help it to understand what are the subconscious tendencies that you have, so that, and then realize that you have the capacity to change them. So if you realize, say, I have a tendency to doubt myself always. So that's something you can look at. When you feel that doubt creeping in, you can look at it and inquire into that doubt and work on it, right? If someone's born with a capacity for a lot of temper, it doesn't mean they will be an angry person all their life. They can work on it and they can get rid of that hold of anger on them. Yeah. And Vicky, that was your question on the gunas. Can you ask? Yeah, you can. As we have just a few minutes, I can take that instead of continuing.
Yeah, ma'am. I wanted to understand when we talk
And
about
also,
Rajas.
you can all just call me Spandana ji, or yeah, no need for now. Yeah.
Sorry. Spandana ji, when I see Rajas, Tamas, and Satoguna, there is always, from my limited understanding, that we have to gravitate towards Satogun. Now, how is that not Karma Yoga? Is my question. Or
How is that not karma?
is that also Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga.
What is karma yoga?
So Karma Yoga, from my limited understanding, is to be to have an action which is always liberating you, and also not and is also about submission to the Almighty without the expectation of any fruits, is
Mhm.
what I understood in the last half an hour.
Yeah, so I'll correct it slightly. So it's, yes, it's Ishwar Arpitam. It's the attitude of dedicating all actions to the Lord, and Ishwar Prasada Buddhi, you accept whatever result comes. That this attitude with the right action is Karma Yoga. And so it's not it's not that there is no expectation of the fruit. It's acceptance of any fruit which comes.
Okay.
So there is an expectation of a goal which helps you design the action, but it's acceptance of whatever fruit which comes. It's knowing that I'm only entitled to the actions, and the fruits I have no control over.
Yeah. So
Uh,
the attributes of Sato, Tamo, or Rajas, how does that have a play on the acceptance of the result?
so it is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are the three gunas, which is there in everything in creation, right? So it can be there in the food you eat, in the music you listen to.
Yes.
So whatever the actions you do, right?
Yes.
So whatever impressions you absorb. So they say we are what we eat. So we are everything, we become a sum of everything which we absorb. So the more whichever guna impressions you absorb, you generate that same quality within yourself. And for a spiritual aspirant, it is useful to move to more and more sattva, because sattva is clarity. It is what allows consciousness to shine through best. Rajas is activity, and it's very, very, very necessary for you to go perform actions, for you to go achieve your various pursuits in life, because you also need to have those other comforts which currently you feel necessary to be able to enjoy the liberty to come to class and be free from certain responsibilities, to dedicate this time and energy, right? So rajas is also important to go achieve things. But too much rajas is the activity can distort the mind, and again is veils the consciousness. And same, tamas, very important. It's required for rest, for sleep, for rejuvenation, but it's darkness, and it can again veil consciousness. So as a spiritual aspirant, you will try to generate more and more sattva in yourself. And how do you do that? You do that by increasing the amount of sattvic impressions that you can consume. I have a nice survey actually, if you want. I don't know, were you there in my Tattva Bodha class?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll give you that.
I'm a new entrant to the
Okay,
Vedanta
so
stance.
there is Vamadev Shastri, Dr. David Frawley, who's a renowned Vedic scholar. He's not of our Sampradaya, but he also credits Swami Dayananda as one of his teachers. So he's written several books, and one of them is Ayurveda and the Mind. So in this, he talks about the various categories of different kinds of activities, food, things that you can, a spiritual aspirant can incorporate, changes they can make to move towards more sattva. So it's a nice one. And you can try to do it every 6 months or every year if you're doing some very particular kind of sadhana, and see how that proportion changes. It's amazing how much of that gunas can change in a matter of 6 months.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're out of time. So any more questions we can take? Otherwise, we can end the class.
I have a quick point to make, Skandaji. So
Yes, please.
it's a follow-up point to Niriti. I believe the society is designed in such a way that the sense of egoness won't go easily. But that is why spending some time in ashrama or a gurukul keeps you grounded, and the way the life in a ashram or a gurukul parampara it happens. The first thing they attack is removing that sense of I-ness or egoness, and it is so well designed that the sense of karma yoga gets into you uh, instantly, and that sense without any hint, it just goes out, and everybody contributes to the best possible way with the same bhav which you said, Ishwara Arpita and Ishwar Prasadam. That is what I
Absolutely.
do.
Certainly. I completely agree. A very intensive retreat, like spending a good amount of time in an ashram, can be very conducive for spiritual growth. For some people, it's possible and also in line with their personality, but for many others, it's not. So for householders, yes, maybe you can go spend some time in an ashrama, but the sannyas life is meant for very few. For rest of us, there is many sadhanas which we will look at in this text that we can incorporate in our life. But of course, the company of people you keep, satsanga, is incredibly important and influential on your spiritual journey. So if you can find like-minded spiritual aspirants, do spend more and more time in their company. Okay. Thank you. So he'll end with the prayers. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
Namo
And
Namaha.
if there's any questions which come up, you can also feel free to put in the group. Those who are new, please do look at the past 2 recordings. It's not a completely introductory class, but it's beginner friendly. So we're covering a lot of the base concepts. We just had 1.5 hours before this class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Skandaji.